Welcome to today's episode of Engineering Success Profile Editions. Today we're joined by Sukhpreet Black, who is a landing gear systems engineer at Airbus. Hi Sukhpreet, and welcome to the show.
Hi Jamie, thank you for having me.
It's great to have you here today. Can we start right at the beginning? What made you choose a career in engineering?
Oh, okay. So ever since I can remember when I was young, I used to love taking apart my toys, anything I could find and get my hands on. Love used to taking them apart. But I don't know where this actually came from, but I used to try and take them apart, and I used to study taking them apart and see how things go back together again.
Yeah.
And I just found that really fun to do just in my spare time. Really, I used to get my sister to come help me and we'd do it together or something. So I just loved taking things apart and putting them back together again. In addition to that, I used to love being able to help with any kind of DIY in the house.
Right.
If there was anything that went wrong in the house, I was the first person to jump up and try and fix it.
Right.
Whether it fixed or not, that was a different subject. I always tried. So yeah, just seeing things coming together and being able to fix things, I just found so rewarding. I fixed it, I done this. And especially when computers came in as well, that was a big thing within my family. You know, when people used to get their massive PCs in the house. And I remember, I was always called to oh, well, we know Sukhpreet can fix this. We know how she can connect all the cables together and everything. Nobody used to be able to be confident enough to be able to do it. So they'd just be oh, we know somebody who can. And I used to go in and plug in all the computers, connect everything together again for all my family, really.
Right, brilliant, yeah. So what route did you take into your engineering career?
So when I was at sixth form and I was looking to pick what courses I wanted to study, and I looked at the list of courses that was on the UCAS list, and initially I wanted to study computer science, and I enjoyed the programming aspect of it as well as the logic aspect of it. So as I was going through it, I came across engineering, and I knew that I liked putting things together, understanding how things worked. And then I came across aerospace engineering, and I thought, wow, this just sounds so cool. And especially because when I was younger, I wanted to become an astronaut. Anything related to space just fascinated me so much. It just intrigued me, there's planets, wow, outside we are just one planet. So I thought this was the next best thing, I can't be an astronaut, but aerospace engineering still sounds pretty cool. So I did a bit of research to understand what does aerospace engineering actually entail. And at the time, Queen Mary University was running a taster course. So I got myself signed up to their taster course and went down. There was a whole load of other students there as well as myself, and they had separated the day into various activities. So one of the activities they got us to do was they had a foam loft board, and you had to make a wing shape out of it and a wing profile. So we then put these wing profiles into the wind tunnels to understand the drag to lift ratio and how that varied. And I just found that really interesting and exciting. It just was it was just incredible learning about all this amazing stuff. So I think after that course, I felt certain that this is what I wanted to do, and purely because it was the interest and the fascination that kind of, fueled me to be I'm really interested in this. I really want to learn a lot about it. So that's why I decided to go with engineering at university. So I studied maths, physics, and I done computing as well at A levels. And that's how I got into going to the University of Sheffield and studying aerospace engineering. And the other aspect I also considered was within the first year of an engineering course, it is still quite broad. So if I didn't enjoy aerospace engineering specifically, or what the module particularly entailed when you went further along the course, there was still opportunities to change and still remain either quite broad or go into a different discipline of engineering. So the first year is always quite common. And that kind of helped me because I felt like I wasn't fully committing to something without knowing what I'm getting myself involved in. But yeah, I went off to university, studied aerospace engineering, and the more I learnt about it, the more I was just like amazed and just interested. Yeah, I think that's where my passion for engineering stems from, really, is just from my interest. I love knowing how things work.
Yeah.
That's what's kept me going as well.
Yeah. So your role today is a landing gear systems engineer. Can you explain a little bit more about that role and what that role actually entails?
Yeah. So in the department and team that I work in as a landing gear systems engineer, I provide in-service support to the current fleet of aircrafts that are flying around.
Right.
So this support addresses safety issues or concerns, provides engineering solutions or mitigations to issues experienced by airline operators, answering queries from airline operators on like the aircraft configuration or the landing gear system or maintenance procedures that they'd like to carry out. I also work with landing gear equipment suppliers to support them in the product evolution or improvements,
Right.
and get that equipment qualified so that it's fit for flight, and it can be installed on an aircraft and go flying around. And as part of all of this, it requires interfacing with various departments, internal and external to Airbus. So within Airbus, you know, I've got to talk to the customer services engineering team, and I work very heavily with them. So they interface with us because they provide questions or queries or something that's happened from in service to our engineering team. And then we address it, carry out the investigations, understand what the problem or the issue is, or improvement that could be provided. And I also interface and manage relationships with our chief engineers. So chief engineers ultimately being responsible for safety and product performance,
Right.
and making sure like they're aware of what's going on, they buy into the safety aspects of it or improvements aspect of it, ensuring we're meeting on all the criteria. So in addition to that, there's various other stakeholders that we have to also engage with, such as like the program responsible for the budget, the activities that we're also carrying out. So in general, I guess with the landing gear systems role, it is with an aircraft landing gear, there's various systems. So you've got the extension and traction system, you've got the braking system, steering systems, and then you've got the wheels, tires and brakes. So there's quite a lot going on, and they're all formed as different parts of systems.
Yeah.
And that's my role, looking at those systems, really.
Yeah. Do you think, you know, thinking about your role and what you do, you know, I'd never heard of the role before, and I've been working engineering for a long time. Do you think roles like yourself sort of like highlights the amount of roles out there in engineering? And do you think we need more visible role models to help and enhance younger people to get involved?
Yeah, completely agree. I think these roles aren't really advertised, as you mentioned, and you're not aware of them until you go into a company, because roles are then sometimes newly created. So if we're talking about future roles as well, now that we've got the future of digitalization coming through, there's more roles that are becoming or being created, should I say, around, you know, data analytics, but also with an engineering background to it. So yeah, I completely agree. I think as things evolve, new roles get created, but not necessarily advertised, as you say, and you won't necessarily be aware of them unless you're working for a company that can create those roles or have the opportunities of being able to do that.
Yeah. So for you, what do you find the most challenging part of your job?
Well, my role's very reactive, so I think the most challenging aspect of it is constant prioritization. So as part of my role, when we have queries that come in from airline operators, if they're quite urgent and it's affecting a situation where an airline operator can't go flying, it's considered to be an AOG, which is aircraft on ground. So we have to try and provide as much support as we can to get that aircraft turned around and to support the airline operators to get it back up and flying. So with those, we have certain timeframes around it. So sometimes it can vary between providing a response within 3 hours. So everything that you're doing gets dropped, and you support that first of all before you start picking it up.
Yeah.
So constant change in priorities means like your everything else in terms of all the other activities you're managing and doing kind of changes as well.
Yeah. Do you think that also, how we've explained that there, also shows how every day in engineering is a different day?
Completely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's the variation that you get as well, which is great, because you're never going to get bored in engineering. There's always so much variation, and every day is a different day almost. So it keeps you on your toes.
Yeah. So what do you find the most rewarding part?
So there's a lot. So in my company, I'd say that I've been able to have many rewarding moments. So I wasn't always a landing gear systems engineer. I used to work within the wing team previously. And when I was working within that team, the most rewarding aspect was seeing one of my designs on a wing, and that's visible to everyone.
Yeah.
So when I see an A350 aircraft, I always look out at the wingtips and know exactly how that size, what design case sized it, why the thicknesses are that size, for example, what material it's made out of, how many bolts are going in there. So for me, I find that quite rewarding to be saying, that particular joint is what I designed, and with the team, we designed the entire winglet. And it's that teamwork aspect of it as well that I find incredibly rewarding. So that's what I found rewarding in the role that I was doing on wing. So in my landing gear role, today I'm not doing designing the landing gear, but I'm providing in-service support to the current fleet flying. So knowing that I'm helping airline operators, providing them with like engineering solutions and mitigations so that they can go offline again, and making sure, you're maintaining safety and airworthiness of aircraft. I find that quite rewarding.
Yeah. So for you, what attributes and skills do you think are needed for a career in engineering?
So I think you'd have to be able to get to grips with like problem solving. Teamwork is a massive aspect of it as well. So definitely teamwork. And I think teamwork is like an advantage, because your team is what creates the energy for you to be able to like get things done, make it exciting, make work fun. Creativity is a massive benefit. If you can come up with creative ways of doing things, that's great. Strategic thinking is another skill, I'd say. Analytical skills, resilience of pursuing no matter how hard things can be, or keep at it, and you end up working it through with the problems that you have to try and resolve. The other aspects I would say is attention to detail. Detail is so important within engineering. I can't even express how important it is.
That's right.
And the key one that I would say is communication. You have to be able to break down problems and communicate them in a simple way for anyone to be able to understand. And being able to have that skill is quite key, I'd say, in any kind of engineering role, because if you can explain it to someone that way and they understand the problem, you're able to progress and get support on either how to solve the problem or getting some kind of funding to solve the problem, and going down those kinds of routes, really.
Yeah. So obviously you work in the aerospace industry, but you also hold a private pilot's license. Now, did that actually come about because of your passion for aerospace, or was it just something that happened over time?
So actually, this was something that the course was actually offering during my time at university.
All right, okay.
So when I went to Sheffield, I picked up aerospace engineering, and then later decided that they were also offering aerospace engineering with private pilots instructions.
Right.
So what that meant was that you could take up the course, but also they were offering another module where you spent that time studying for the exams. Right. And you'd have an instructor that come in and like kind of teach you about how to fly a Cessna and all the exams that you need to do that go along with it. And I just find that incredible. Like, I enjoyed aerospace engineering. Why not learn how to fly while I'm at university? But I found that so rewarding as well, because when we've done the exams, and then when we also went off and took our lessons, so that also had to be privately funded. When we took our lessons, and when I was learning how to fly, I felt like I could actually apply my learning and actually understand it in the lectures that I was learning. So when we were talking about wing design and, you know, talking about the aspect ratio, you know, of the size of the wing, I could really relate to that and how that affects, you know, the characteristics of your aircraft and handling characteristics. Because I've been learning to fly, I could understand how they kind of link together. And especially when you're talking about like the center of gravity for when you're flying, you have to consider like how much fuel you're putting in. You have to do your weight and balance before you take off, and also what distance you need to take off. I could really relate to that when the lecturers were teaching us all these aspects that you need to consider. So I'd say it really reinforced everything that I was learning at university through putting things into a practical form.
No, that's amazing. So what advice would you give a future engineer?
I just think engineering is such a rewarding career. It's got a great work-life balance, and as we see, you know, it's the typical iceberg model. You know, people only sometimes see the success aspect of it, but I think in general you get so much more out of engineering. Personally, I feel like I apply it to my whole life almost, and I find like, because it's logical things, I just find every skill that I've picked up through engineering, I've been able to use in my life. You know, and I'd say like it's so rewarding as a career. I think advice that I would give is, don't be afraid, you know, to push the boundaries and learn. And I think the next generation also of people who are picking up engineering is going to be quite exciting, because we've got the digitalization, AI coming through. You know, I think machine learning, I think that's going to be a complete game changer. And I think it's exciting to be able to say, this is a time when like people can get involved and start shaping what the future is going to be looking like. And advice I'd give is to always be curious and inquisitive, really.
So I know you do a lot of outreach work to younger people and promote engineering, but we also know the importance of getting people into engineering. So what would your message be to somebody who has never thought about engineering as a career, but get them interested in what we do?
Well, you get to earn while you learn, and there's a wealth of opportunities to bring solutions and innovations to the world, really. So I'd say like it's an opportunity to be able to shape the world that we live in.
Fantastic. Sukhpreet, that's it. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you very much, Jamie.
It's been great to have you. Thank you.